Hello, and welcome to the Argyle CIO Leadership Forum, Innovations and Opportunities for Accredited Digital Transformation. My name is Nick with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. I have some important information to share with you, and then we will turn the floor over to our esteemed opening keynote speaker. First, we would like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Vertex. Our sponsor is committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booth from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. We also welcome you to stay socially connected during today's event. For those of you who are active on social media, please use the hashtag ArgyleDigital and follow us at Argyle Exec Forum. Also, be sure to follow Argyle on LinkedIn for special announcements. I would like to take a moment to touch on our content neutrality policy, which we have curated based on feedback we have received over the years from our members. We have worked closely with our speaking faculty to ensure that you receive a set of balanced and neutral viewpoints during the session today, and we appreciate our members' support of this policy. Finally, and most importantly, we want to hear from you. So during each session, we encourage you to submit your questions and comments in the Q&A box on your screen. Following each presentation, we have set aside time for our speakers to weigh in on your questions. Thank you again for joining us today. Now, let's get started. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Chris Tonjes, Chief Information Officer, DC Department of Employment Services. We are excited to have Chris for his opening keynote presentation titled 2024 Forecast, Strategic Technology Trends for Better Business Decisions. Welcome, Chris. Over to you.
Thank you. Excited to be here. And I'm going to share my screen. Thank you very much. Happy to be here today. I'm going to offer some insights on the following 4 topics. Which tech offers more hype than help? Ways to ensure your vendor relationships are fruitful and effective? Which tech strategies are the most economy-proof, and how to plan in a state of flux? I think we're always in a state of flux in technology, and ways to gain management buy-in. So I will start in on the first one, and that is something that I think we're all very, very, very involved in and mindful of, is AI. And AI is a mixture of both. It could be more hype than help, or it could be a great deal of help. So we want to try to, when we're thinking about AI as a CIO, we want to try to sift away the hype from the help and figure out how to incorporate it into our organization. And the most important things that you can do as a leader in advocating for AI or understanding hype versus help is ensure that you have clear use cases. A lot of end business users and employees and even customers might not know what AI is. They've heard so many things about it. Is it Siri that you see on your phone? Is it Alexa? Is it the suggestions that you get on Amazon when you're looking at things? What is AI? So to demystify it, we kind of need to understand what it actually is. In our organizations, there need to be really clear use cases. What is AI going to do? Is it going to help us sift through large amounts of unstructured information so we can find patterns and then do transactions quickly? Is it going to identify potential security breaches and turn something actionable as a result of that? What is it going to do? So clear use cases are really essential. Take time to write them out, make sure that you understand them, and make sure that the people in your organization that want to use AI have a pretty good idea of what they're going to use it for, and demystify it. What is it? How does it work? Where does it come from? How does it impact your data? How is it embedded into your everyday tools? If you have Microsoft 365, there's a good chance that you might already have Copilot turned on and people are already using it. What is it used for? Then an overarching activity that every CIO should really undertake before you implement AI or before you even advocate for it is assessing the security and privacy risks. Where is AI going to live? What data is it going to access? What's the output going to be? Is the output going to be in the public? Is it going to be in a walled garden? How is it going to be set up? What type of framework, risk framework, are you going to undertake before you even start AI? Are you going to undertake the NIST AI risk management framework? Do you have a corporate risk management framework? So understanding that is really important, both from a management point of view, but also, and to me as a CIO, this is just as important, from the standpoint of being able to tell a story about AI, understanding it, assuaging people's doubts, making sure that people are comfortable with it. So that's extremely very important. Inventory your existing portfolio of applications for your AI readiness or suitability. I get calls almost every day from somebody telling me, hey, I've got AI built into my project that can do X, Y, and Z. Or, hey, you can use any large language model you want to integrate with our AI native capability. So take a small step back, look at what you have, see if it is what I call AI ready. And if it is, move forward accordingly. If it's not, move forward accordingly there well. And carefully vet any vendor offerings for sustainability, transparency, security, and privacy. So in District of Columbia, where I work, the mayor, who is equal to a governor in most states, has created an executive order around AI. And one of the criteria that we have to demonstrate before we even start any AI project is that it meets standards for sustainability, transparency, security, and privacy. So if you don't have a set of standards like that, start thinking about them and start figuring out how to adhere to them or how you're going to communicate them. And then the thing that I think probably goes without saying, partner with the business champion. A lot of our users and a lot of our upper management here is extremely interested in AI. Find somebody who's really interested in it, work together on a use case, find a way to refine that, and move forward expeditiously and move forward together. So AI is one example of something that's more hype than help. There are others, but I think in this day and age, I can offer insights on that, at least to start with. Vendor management strategies. So this is something that we all have to do, that in some cases we think of as a rote activity, as a tactical activity, but it can really be turned very strategic. And it also can be turned into a way of more closely aligning what IT does with your business. So a couple of quick ways that we can improve our posture here is we should align our sourcing and our vendor management. If one person does both of those things, make sure that everybody is aligned on how that's going to work. What's the best type of contract? What's the best method of acquisition? When you buy something, write into your contract or into your purchase agreement that there are certain criteria that each vendor has to have, measurable criteria, repeatable criteria, evidence-based criteria, so that you can have a clear picture of success. Define performance metrics. What is a good vendor relationship? What are we getting? Are we getting services that adhere to a particular SLA? Are we buying staffing services? Are we buying licenses? Figure out what some very good performance metrics might be. And I believe that it's a good idea to engage end customers in defining these metrics and try to find a way to report that out. At every step of the way, we want to have buy-in from the people who are using our services and from the people who are using the software and the hardware, the subscriptions, or anything that we actually buy. And in doing that, propose metrics to tell a meaningful story. If we started out with one set of activities that were not automated prior to engaging a vendor for services, are we going to end up with that set of activities plus 10 more? If we started out with a certain time to transaction time before we engage the vendor to provide software or services to make transactions work or to monitor them, are we starting out with one level of adherence to SLAs and ending up with a more enhanced measurement, enhanced place? That is a very, very important thing to do, and get your customers involved in what that story is going to be. And then come up with a set of activities and capabilities that allow room for improvement and try to figure out how to reach that. I think in IT, what we always want to be doing is demonstrating that we are, one, doing the work that we're supposed to do, two, providing really good value, and then three, aligning with business needs. And if there's a need for improvement that comes from a particular business strategy or activity, that should be reflected in our management of vendors. You can get a lot out of this. You can spend a lot of time on this, and there are ways that you can do this. I would also say that forging really close ties with all layers of management in your vendor relationships is really important. There are times that you are probably going to have to ask for help or ask for somebody to do something that might not be apparent or that the vendor might not want to do. So keeping a really good open line of communications, making sure that your vendors know what your priorities are, what your vision is, what you want to accomplish is really important. And also get down in the weeds with them. We recently here purchased an extremely expensive system that we use to automate the entire process of applying for unemployment insurance. So that was an 8-figure spend, and even after we bought that, I insisted on taking a trip down to the vendor and going way down into the weeds and getting a deep dive into their roadmap. How is their product architected? What do the next 5 years look like? How is it going to incorporate really good strategies that would turn it into a platform or decouple it from things? What is their security posture? So get down in the weeds, ask for more information. People I have found like to tell their own story to you, but the more you know and the more you have written down, the more effective you're going to be at managing vendor strategies. So I find this particular activity to be really worth a lot of time. I probably spend 25 to 35% of my time on this, and it has paid off for me, and I believe it's paid off for the organization. Planning in a state of flux. I work in state and local government, and state and local government the last few years have been sort of a fiscal yo-yo. Prior to the pandemic, tax revenues were really high. Where I live in the District of Columbia, population was expanding really quickly. Businesses were moving here. People were moving in at a really rapid rate. The real estate market kind of exploded. In the 15 years that I've lived here, I think the population of DC has grown by almost 30%. So when I came into the government, I came into a series of yearly budget surpluses that got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So there was a slight dip in the recession of 2008, but that didn't even last 6 months. So the pandemic changed in the public sector the fiscal underpinnings that we depend on in a really radical way. We went through a period here where unemployment briefly, I think, hit 12 or 13%, which hadn't happened in years. And then a large number of businesses that were working remotely and federal agencies decided to continue working remotely or resume work in a hybrid posture, which resulted in a very, very significant devaluation of certain types of real estate assets in the district. And as a result, and as a result also of the end of stimulus money, we now find ourselves in a position where we have a budget deficit instead of a budget surplus. So the exercise of managing resources and figuring out what technology to invest in that gives the biggest bang for the buck has changed a little bit. But some things never change. Whether you have a lot of money or little money, there are some things that you have to do all the time. And I would point out, and I'm sure that anybody that works in the private sector would probably agree with this, that frugality is often the driver of innovation. Frugality is the driver of creativity. And there are things that you can do that you never thought you would do, but if you're constrained by your budget, then you're going to think through those things with a lot more rigor, a lot more discipline, and a lot more energy. So in the government, we find ourselves now in kind of a down cycle, but that doesn't mean that we can't move forward. That doesn't mean that we can't be intelligent about investments that we make. And that doesn't mean, as the CIO, that my team's performance and what I bring to the organization needs to be diluted or slowed down or in any way crimped. We still have to deliver the same type of value. So things that you could do, whether they're good times or bad times, is perform, what I call continuous cost optimization. When you're signing up for something, can you get a multi-year discount? Do you really need what you're going to buy? Gather a lot of data to figure that out. There are planning tools that you can actually buy to do that for you. They're very expensive. You might not need those planning tools. If you have somebody helping you do procurement, you could probably do that without those planning tools, but they're really important. Evaluate your staffing mix. In IT, most of the money that we all spent is spent on people. So interestingly, even though the economy is beginning to slow down, we still find ourselves with the same challenges of finding and retaining and hiring good people. So it's important to have a staffing strategy. It's important to look at who you have in your organization and figure out, can they do just this one role? Can they do 3 or 4 roles? Do I really need an IT person for this, or can I bring somebody else in and have a matrixed organization and thereby have business capabilities in addition to technical capabilities that will help me provide greater value to my customers? Cross-train people. Figure out, do you have single points of failure? If you do, find ways to eliminate them. Consider creating cross-functional tiger teams. And I found this over the years to be a really great way of doing any kind of large technology projects where you have matrix teams of people that work together, and they might report to one person that's not in their department, and work very assiduously either on modernization projects, specific one-time things, or forming a type of governance to oversee core enterprise resource planning systems or other IT activities. This one is really important, align with broader business goals. We have here a set of 5 principles that we have to adhere to. And when I first came here, and when I've worked every place, I've always looked at what we're doing and made sure that those 5 goals are really weaved into what we're doing, and that people can say, yes, by working on this system and helping this group of people, we are expanding greater economic opportunity. Yes, by working on this system or working with these people, we're helping to enforce wage and hours laws. So it should be really easy as a CIO for you to understand the business goals and figure out how you are aligned with them and how you can prioritize them. I will talk about one other thing that's not on this slide, but it's very, very important to me. In a cost-constrained environment, a good strategy is looking, first of all, deciding what are the key investment priorities that you need to make. Because even though budgets shrink, there are still things that the business wants you to do and that you need to do. So prioritize those things. Do you need to buy a system to replace one that's 30 years old? Do you need to do something to increase a certain type of revenue, and technology is needed to do that? So work with your businesses to make a priority of those things, and then go back at what you're already doing and look for ways to shave costs off of what you're doing to fund the things that are priorities. This is something that I do even in good times, even when there's plenty of money. This is a way of sort of clarifying what your spending is on, making sure that it's strategic, and also um, helping to adhere or understand, what business priorities are and how you align with them. So it's a very, very, very important thing to remember before before you ask for new money. Try to figure out what you can get, what cost you can squeeze out of what you're doing, and use that to fund new initiatives. Very important exercise, and we do that throughout the entire government. Ways to gain buy-in. So this is really important. Uh, some CIOs will report to a CEO or a COO, or somebody very high up in the organization. That gives you an opportunity to be a part of broad strategic discussions. It also gives you visibility. It gives you a seat at the table. Um, so if you are in that position, that's great. You've got a great place to start from. If you're not in that position, you can still find a way to become very visible, very involved, and very consulted on new things. So how do you do that? You do that by making sure that you have a story of what IT is doing, a story that makes sense to people that are looking for ways to achieve strategic goals, a story that's really easy for non-technical people to understand, and a story that also paints you as a partner and as somebody that should be consulted. IT doesn't exist in a vacuum, and technology is a resource. If you're lucky enough to work with executives who love technology, who see it as a way to get them from point A to point B, either to save money, to provide better service, or to enhance revenue, then you're in a really good spot. But if you're not in that position, you can get into that position by making sure that everybody understands what you do, why you do it, how you can do more, and that you are visible, and can be consulted, and that you should be part of larger strategic conversations. What is the CIO? You are the chief consultant. You are the chief architect. You are the chief guru. You are the person that somebody comes to and asks, "Hey, what is AI? How does it benefit me? Hey, how can we enhance our security posture?" You should be the first stop. And that means that you should be really comfortable breaking down non-technical technical concepts and requirements to non-technical people, and you should be able to do it quickly, and you should be able to do it in a consistent way. That's really important. Being able to tell a story, being able to be visible, and being able to be perceived as the first person that somebody should come to. That's the best part of being a CIO, being the chief consultant, being the person that a problem is given to, and it's your job to figure out how to unpack that problem and use technology to do it. Sometimes technology isn't the answer, but if you're a part of the conversation, then that gives you a leg up. And the more involved you are, the better job you're going to be, and the more value you're going to bring to anything. Partner, and some of these things are really self-evident, but I think it's worth reminding everybody of. Partner across functions. We don't work alone. If you've got a group of people that are working on something, and you're working really well with them, hold them tight. Work really closely with them. Get them to evangelize for you, to evangelize for IT, do the things that they need you to do. That's a success story, and you should always be finding ways to identify success and to advocate for success. And sometimes your success isn't really your success. Your success is somebody else's success. But that's really important to understand too. And finding ways to help people enhance their reputations, enhance their impressions, and enhance their ability to do things. That's a core function of being the CIO. So find really good partners. Find people that you are comfortable with, who you can blue sky with. Find people who you can advocate for, and they will help you become more visible and help people understand your value. And lastly, stay engaged. Join professional organizations. Become really knowledgeable about your business or your line of business, or things that are similar to your business, or things that are impacted by your business. Now, in this day and age, 20 or 30 years ago, when we first started in IT, when somebody looked for an IT manager, they were looking for technical skills. But in this day and age, that is not the case. Most CIO jobs, or even CISO jobs, or high level IT jobs really require that the job holder is almost equally engaged and equally knowledgeable about business versus IT. I don't need to be an expert at servers. I don't need to be an expert at cloud provisioning. My engineers do that. But what I do need to be an expert as is the business, and our business is government. I need to understand what our priorities are. I need to understand the specific services that we provide. Right now, here in my current agency, that's a bunch of income maintenance programs like unemployment insurance and paid family leave. So when I came here, I had to quickly learn about those programs, learn about the regulatory framework, learn about the vendor market, learn about what we were doing. So stay engaged. Don't be afraid to roll up your sleeves and really learn things that are outside of IT. You'll be surprised when you do that, what you can learn and how it will improve your ability to provide technical services to people, and also to be part of conversations. And when you begin to be perceived as an expert in the business that you're supporting, a lot of doors are going to open up to you. So I think that those are really, really important uh, ways to gain buy-in. Some of them kind of go without saying. Hopefully, the little bit of time that I've spent uh, talking about them is helpful. And these are all things that I do. And that is the end of my presentation. And I will stop for questions.
Great. All right, Chris, here's a question from the audience. What are some ways we can effectively prioritize the budget to ensure we are investing in initiatives that really drive business growth?
Yes, so that's a really good question. And again, understanding what types of projects are revenue enhancing projects, or what types of projects are revenue capture projects, or what types of projects are in the case of the government, uh, tax collection and revenue collection projects are really important. And quantifying their value to people, I think it would be one way to do that. So at the very beginning, and you could come up with a ranking system. If you've got 6 projects to do, here's one that's going to increase sales. And here, when we partner with the business, their goal is to increase sales by X amount. Here's why we think that it could do that. Here's one that we can use to collect money that's owed. Here's one that we can use to do other things that will count as revenue enhancements. So come up with a mechanism to rank these things. Try to use data if you can, or try to get your business partners to advocate for that. I think that's really important. And to me, right now, my first priority, even though I work in the government, is doing things that will either enhance tax revenue, because we collect taxes here, or do other things that are what I consider revenue adjacent that will encourage money to come into the government. So that is, for me right now, even in the public sector, those types of projects are my first priority right now.
Great. And thank you again, Chris, for an excellent keynote. I also want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. As a reminder, please be sure to check out the prizes and raffle rules section to see how you can earn points for the chance to win one of several prizes. Our next session will begin at 11:35 a.m. Eastern Time, which will be a panel discussion titled Bringing Up AI, Increased Success of Automated Technology with Tactful Planning and Execution of Artificial Intelligence. Please click the join button that will appear on your screen to be redirected to the next session, and we look forward to seeing you there.